Okay, a lot of logarithms can be evaluated without a calculator, and it's really important that you understand how to do that so that you can get an idea about whether or not an answer that you're getting is logical. But sometimes we do have to use a calculator. Now, because we're not in class, we don't have our lovely graphing calculators that are very easy to use. So we're going to have to figure out how to do this with some tools that we used to use when I was in school. So we'll be using a scientific calculator. On a smartphone, if you open up the calculator and then you turn your phone sideways, it turns it into a scientific calculator. And if you take your phone for a moment and you look at it, you'll find that there are buttons there on that scientific calculator that say log and ln. And there's even one that says e, and there's one that says e to the power x. So we can talk about how to use that one. There's also a scientific calculator that you can find just by doing a Google search or any kind of web search, and that one's actually pretty friendly to use. It would be a lot more, more similar to what we would be able to do in class. Um, so anyway, we're going to use the calculator to evaluate these. We are going to be rounding to 3 decimal places. And then this is just some information about turning the phone. Okay, so here we go. I think I'm going to back this out just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we want to evaluate natural log of 0.3. I do have an approximately equal to sign there next to it because this is an approximation. And so I'm going to pull up my calculator here on my phone, turn my phone sideways. In order to type this into my scientific calculator on my phone, I have to type in the 0.3 first, and then I have to touch the natural log button. And when I do that, my phone tells me that that's approximately negative 1.204 when I round it correctly. So just a recap there, to type it into my scientific calculator, I had to put in 0.3 first, and then I had to touch the natural log button in order to get it to evaluate. Now, I did expect it to be a negative number because I was looking for e to what power gives me 0.3, and e is approximately 2.7-ish, and 0.3 is smaller than that, so that means it would have to be a negative exponent to make that happen. So I was expecting a negative value. Okay, my next one to try here is log of 23. Now this one is a common log, so that's a base 10. On my scientific calculator, it says very specifically that the log button has a base 10. So again, to type it in on my phone calculator, I have to type in 23 first, and then I have to touch the log button. Now, if I were trying to evaluate this without the calculator, I'd be saying 10 to what power is 23? Now, 10 to the 1 is 10, 10 to the 2 is 100. So to get 23, I would need a number somewhere between 1 and 2. And my calculator says that that is 1.362 when I round it correctly. Alrighty. Okay, so my next one, natural log of 4.2. You can go ahead and try that one because we already did a natural log, so you could pause the video here and give that one a shot and see what you get. Mine says 1.435. And we could do this one down here below also. So log of 3.2. So I would type into my calculator 3.2 first, and then I would hit the log base 10, the common log button. And I got 0.505. Okay, now for these other two. This is e to a power. Now in my calculator, I do have a couple of buttons. I have an E button, and I also have an E to the X button. Now because I want e to a power, I want to use the e to the x button. But similarly to how I have to type in my logarithms, I have to type in the 3 first, and then I have to type the e to the x button to get it to evaluate it correctly. So when I type that, I get approximately 20.086. So you try that with e to the negative 6. So my calculator, to get negative 6, I have to type minus 6 and then press enter. And then I can touch the e to the x button. And it says for that one 0.002 when rounded correctly. Okay, so those are kind of straightforward. Those are just typing in the calculator. With the scientific calculator, you do have to know how to put it in, otherwise it's not going to work for you. Okay, these last two, though, have different bases. One's got a base 9, and the other one's got a base 6. And if you're looking at your scientific calculator there, or even the scientific calculator that you may have found on the web, there's no way to type in a base. So for these, we have to type them in kind of a little bit differently. Now this is kind of interesting. So here's how this works. We can actually put it in two different ways. We can do it with a common log, or we can do it with a natural log. And here's how we do that. So if I'm doing a common log, I would put in log 17. So that's common log of 17 divided by common log of 9. So that's just a log of the big number divided by a log of the little number. So once again, to put this in the calculator, that's a little bit hard to put in. I have to put in 17 first, then touch log, then say divided by, and then I have to put 9, and then touch log, and then finally press enter. And that would give me 1.289. And I just want to make sure that this answer makes sense here. So if I were trying to evaluate that without a calculator, I'd be saying 9 to what power is 17? And 9 to the first power is 9. 9 to the second power is 81. I want 9 to a power to be 17, so that means my answer would have to be between 1 and 2. And that's what the calculator said. Okay, the second way I could put this in my calculator is using the natural log button instead. So I could try this one. I type in natural log of 17 over natural log of 9. So let's try that one and just make sure we get the same answer. So again, you type 17 first, then touch the natural log button, then divided by, and then touch 9, and then the natural log button again, and press enter. And my calculator gave the exact same result. All right, so one more like that. We've got log base 6 of 7.8. Now that you've seen how to get that in the calculator, it'd be a really good idea to pause your video and see if you can get the correct answer there. I got 1.146. Alrighty, now there are a couple more questions on the Google form to answer.